We're talking about trading maybe some crazy loves in your life or some crazy decisions around love in your life for a different kind of crazy. And that is that Jesus, God the Father and His Son Jesus are radically and absolutely in love with you and with me and have plans and purposes for our life. And so we're digging into that. And the whole premise behind this series is this, and you can write this down as we talk about it. We talked about it last week. You and I were designed for a relationship. We were. From the very beginning of time, we were designed for relationship. And last week, we talked about how we have more relationships today and less love today than ever before. We have more connections through social media. We have more friends in other states. We visit friends when we travel. We have connections with people at our workplace, at our job, at our family. We have more connections or relationships, maybe superficial, maybe surface, maybe just barely knowing, but we have more of those relationships and less love than we've ever had in my lifetime, and I think probably in the history of the world now with technology. And so let's review briefly last week as we talked about that. We talked about God created man in the Garden of Eden. He put him in this perfect utopia and said, basically, I've got a plan and a purpose for you. And man disobeyed God and they sinned. We'll talk about that a little bit in a few moments. But we said that sin separated us from God and separates us from each other. And so in that separation, there's this desperation that comes that leads us to search for relationships in sometimes many unhealthy ways. And so many times when we do that, this is what we're going to talk about today, we have done that and we have wandered down roads of sexual sin and brokenness that are destroying individuals and destroying marriages, and ultimately they're destroying our culture as a whole. So let me just say this, if you have kids in here, we have a kids ministry, all right? Today. If they have 11, 12, 13 years old, they're probably hearing more than you think they're hearing, and I'm perfectly fine if they stay in for the remaining portion of this message, but don't tell me I didn't tell you, okay? And so today we're going to be talking about this. Last week we said more relationships, less love. Today we're talking about more sex and less intimacy. Because today people are engaged in sexual activities at alarming rates, but have less intimacy than ever before. And so Genesis 1, 2, and 3, creation happens, this perfect utopia, the Garden of Eden, and God gives mankind the first blessing. He says, be fruitful and multiply. God didn't create Adam and Eve, man and woman, and then go, hey, what are y'all doing? Like, no, he didn't do that. He said, be fruitful. He designed the human body. He designed it in such a way that he said, be fruitful and multiply. And he gave mankind, humanity, the first blessing of sex and reproduction. And the Bible says that they were naked and they felt no shame. And so there was this purity that happened in the Garden of Eden that allowed mankind to not feel shame and not be embarrassed. But sin enters the world, and the Bible says immediately they recognized their nakedness because they disobeyed God and ate of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. It was one disobedient act that welcomed sin into this world, and now they begin to cover themselves because they felt guilt and shame. And so today we're going to be talking about this word intimacy for a few moments. And I know that's sometimes doesn't feel like a manly word, but men, hear me out. Here's what I mean when I say intimacy, so we're all on the same page. Probably the most simple definition that you'll never forget, literally, is into me you see. In other words, I look beyond the outer shell. I look beyond the presentation. I look beyond the social media filters. I look beyond what you want me to see, and I'm able to dig into your heart and know you at the depths of your soul. And it's more than physical. It's much more than physical. In fact, I want you to hear this. It is possible to have sex without intimacy, and it is also possible to have intimacy without sex. Hear me. There are a lot of people that have never experienced intimacy but have been chasing sexual rendezvous throughout their life. There are also people who have highly intimate relationships and have never crossed the boundary of physical acts or sexual acts with one another. And so at the end of the day, those two things are not synonymous with one another. And so we have lots of people having sex, but few people are experiencing intimacy. And so I want to give you just quickly two thoughts from last year. The last message I preached before we shut everything down for COVID, I gave you two thoughts, and I want to review those, and I'm going to give you an illustration that take you back. For those of you who are new to Relevant Church, may not have been a part of that. It's kind of foundational to what I want to talk about today. But here's two thoughts. One is this. Sex is a binding covenant that is physical, emotional, and spiritual, and is designed for a husband and wife in marriage. That is what we believe at Relevant Church. It is a binding covenant, not a contract that's meant to be broken. It is a lifetime covenant, and I won't go into all the details of the blood covenant in the scriptures, but what that means for humanity. But at the end of the day, it is a covenant that is physical, emotional, and spiritual, and is designed for a husband and a wife in marriage. We see this in Matthew chapter 19. Jesus telling us specifically, haven't you read, he says, he replied, that at the beginning the Creator made them male and female, very important in our culture, and said, for this reason a man will leave his father and mother and be united to his wife, and the two will become one flesh. So they were no longer two, but one flesh. Therefore, what God has joined together, let no man separate. God designed marriage as a physical, emotional, and spiritual covenant between one man and one woman in the context of marriage. Now hear me. The end of the day, humanity has messed this up. We have radically screwed this up. But that does not change God's intrinsic design. Here's the second thing. Sex is good. It is a good thing. Some of y'all are like, all right, Pastor, I can hang with you on this one. And I want to say that, and I want to say that bluntly, because at the end of the day, there's people here and watching online and people all over our community that get uncomfortable when you talk about this. The reason you're uncomfortable is because the enemy has hijacked something God created. A few years back, we put signs all over town that said, let's talk about sex. And those red letters there that said sex, people lost their minds, especially the religious people. Because at the end of that, I can't believe you put that word all over town. I'm like, God created it. It was the first blessing of humanity. You're offended because the culture has hijacked, the enemy has hijacked what God meant for good. And it's so distorted, and our kids are being exposed at earlier ages than ever before, and the church is supposed to be quiet? No, thank you. And so, we believe that God created as a blessing for husband and wife. And here's what it says in 1 Corinthians chapter 7. Keep in mind, Paul, a follower of Jesus, starts the church at Corinth, and now the church at Corinth has major sexual activity running rampant, unhealthy and ungodly. And he writes this in 1 Corinthians chapter 7, the husband should fulfill his marital duty to his wife, and likewise the wife to her husband. The wife does not have authority over her own body, but yields it to her husband. In the same way, the husband does not have authority over his own body, but yields it to his wife. Do not deprive each other, except perhaps by mutual consent and for a time, a couple hours, so that you may devote yourselves to prayer. Then come together again so that Satan will not tempt you because of your lack of self-control. What Paul is saying is this is a very real desire that God has given us. But it can also be a wildfire out of control. And so he gives you this marriage covenant to enjoy it the way he intended, but we have screwed it up. And so let's unpack a few things together. But before we do, I want to read you something that I read from Psychology Today about the idea of intimacy, marriage, and how this all has kind of broken down in our country. This is not written from a Christian perspective, but I think it's brilliant in the fact that it only speaks more to what I'm trying to communicate with you. They say this: confusion, hurt, silence, missed opportunity. It's one of the ironies of modern life that many couples today are living together as complete strangers. It goes on to say, or worse, in great unhappiness. The data on divorce lead us to conclude that intimate relationships have been falling apart for the past 20 years or so. I would argue much longer than that. The truth is that couples have never learned reliably how to sustain pleasure in intimate relationships. The difference is it never mattered so much before. What are they saying? At the end of the day, we're realizing now, after years of jacked up mindsets about sex and sexuality in our country, that families are falling apart. That the very foundation of our creation is crumbling. And they say this: the difference is it never mattered so much before. Why does it matter so much now? Because we're starting to see the effects of our brokenness. And so let's read Genesis chapter 3, verse 1 through 7. We'll have a little fun. Now the serpent, this is after Adam and Eve were placed in the Garden of Eden. They were told not to eat of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. It's the one boundary God gave them. It says, the serpent was more crafty than any of the wild animals the Lord God had made. He said to the woman, did God really say you must not eat from any tree in the garden? Now listen to how this plays itself out. Because you see this. Did God really? Why would God? Come on. I mean, God's not that way. You hear the same argument play itself out in our culture, don't you? And so it says, the woman said to the serpent, we may eat of the fruit from the trees in the garden, But God did say, you must not eat from the tree that is in the middle of the garden, and you must not touch it, or you will die. Now pause. God never said don't touch it. But do you see how the truth gets twisted? Very quickly. God just said don't eat of it. And Eve added more to God's instructions. Then it says, you will not certainly die, the serpent said to the woman. For God knows that when you eat from it, your eyes will be opened and you will be like God, knowing good and evil. Can I tell you, life would be so much better if we didn't know good and evil? If we just knew good. If everything was just good, like if we were just in utopia. And then it goes on to say, when the woman saw that the fruit of the tree was good for food and pleasing to the eye. We're talking about appetites, aren't we? And also desirable for gaining wisdom. She took some and ate it. She gave some to her husband who was with her, and he ate it. The eyes of both of them were open. They realized they were naked, so they sewed fig leaves together and made coverings for themselves. And so now they're naked and feel no shame. Sin enters the world, disobedience, and they're like, uh-oh, we got to cover ourselves. Immediately shame, immediately guilt enters the world. And so it starts, though, out of a lie. And I want you to write this down because this is foundational. When you think about sex, sexuality, and all the asinine arguments in our culture today, hear me. Lies are born the moment someone thinks the truth is dangerous. Well, God wouldn't do that to me. Who are we to tell God how he should act? God wouldn't, why would God create me in this way? Why would God give me desires that I could have to wait and fulfill and I can't even find the right person? Why would God give me this desire? Why would God not want me to enjoy life? God is just a God of rules. Hear me. Lies are born the moment we think the truth is dangerous. God's depriving me. The same lie in the Garden of Eden that led to the downfall of humanity. And so what I want to do is give you some clarity today. I don't want to give you a bunch of rules. I don't want to give you a bunch of guidelines. I want to give you an awareness. Because here's what I believe. Restraint without revelation always leads to rebellion. Let me explain. How many of y'all grew up in the don't do it generation, right? I went to church specifically when they talked about sex, like don't do it, son, don't do it till you get married, don't do it. Y'all know that? Y'all grow up in that church, anybody? Don't do it. And they tell the woman, don't do it. It's disgusting, don't do it. And then you get married and you're like, do it. And she's like, I thought it was disgusting, right? But what happens when you tell a kid, don't press the button? As soon as you leave the room, they're just going to press it, right? Don't touch the hot stove. How many of y'all touched the hot stove? Come on, somebody. You touched it once. Restraint without revelation leads to rebellion. Anybody's daddy ever tell you, when you say, they say, don't you do that. And you say, why? Y'all know where I'm going with this, don't you? They say, because I. And what did you want to do? Just wait till you turn around. I'm going to do it. Because I can, right? Dads, please stop telling your kid because I said so. I'm not saying you don't have that right at times to say because I said so, because maybe it's me. But sometimes we ought to engage in the conversation to help them understand the why behind the what we're asking them to do to help them be more mature in their faith. And so it's like, don't do it. Why? Because I said so. Well, then there must be something I need to know, right? Every 12-year-old, I grew up in the true love waits generation. Anybody else in the house or watching online? True love waits. We signed a piece of paper. We're going to stay pure. No sexual activity till we get married. And then it felt like prison. Because you're like, well, I signed that paper. And you don't even know why you signed the paper. You signed the paper because you were guilty. You shouldn't. Okay, I shouldn't. But I don't know why. And then you're like, help me figure this out. And we got a generation lost, and many of you came up in a generation, and you were told restraint without revelation. And then you led it into rebellion, or you went around the whole thing and said, oh, now I get it. And some of us have messed it up. And there's a lot of brokenness in there. Because we didn't fully understand what it would do. We didn't understand how deep it cut. And then there's others of you, hear me out, teenager, young adult, single person, or single again person, or maybe you're just getting into your teenage years. Today, I want to save you a lot of heartache if you'll listen. So for those of you who came in here, you're like, okay, great, happy Valentine's Day, I'm broken. Today could be the greatest Valentine's Day of your life. Where are my single people at on Valentine's Day? Let me see your hands. Come on, single people. I'm trying to help you out. Look around. This is what you're working with. Look around, holding my pie. She's like, I'm single. Right here. But here's the thing. I'm talking to everybody today. Maybe you're a parent with kids. This is for you. Maybe you're grandparents or grandkids. This is for you. You can help this situation. So I'm going to show you some charts and diagrams, but don't get all worried, all right? So here we go. The World Health Organization talks about 5 dimensions of health for our self-care. How do we become healthy human beings? And I don't at the surface have any problem with this. I just think it's incomplete. Let me tell you why. So throw this on. If we're going to be healthy as an individual, this is our self. It's the center of their diagram here. There are 5 areas of self-care or self-health that we must work on. The first one is physical. And so these will come around. You'll kind of see how this all makes up a module here. So say you need to exercise, eat healthy. You need to take care of your body. You need to, that way you can live long and be strong. We all know the physical health eventually breaks down, doesn't it? Emotional. That's the second one. This means, like, you need to learn to control your emotions. Don't lash out. Don't, be careful how you handle your anger and your frustration and your anxiety. Like, be emotionally healthy. And intuitively, at different seasons of your life, when you're a teenager, when you're young, when you're going through midlife, and when you're old, this is all different. Your emotions change, right? So you have to work on that. I have no problem with that. The third one is spiritual. And these are in no particular order. Spiritual, you need to believe in something higher, a higher power, some spirituality. And we believe as followers of Jesus, that is in God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Spirit. Jesus came and lived on this earth and died for our sins so that we wouldn't have to pay the penalty. That is our foundation for our spiritual life, but I'll come back to that. Here's the fourth one, is social. That means that you need to work on your social surroundings. You need to have healthy relationships because we are, after all, designed for a relationship. And here's the last one, mental. We know that we have to work on our mental health, right? We know part of the reason we are meeting and we're trying to balance, the main reason we are meeting together in this place is because we're trying to balance the physical pandemic and the mental pandemic that we're going through. Mental health crisis is at an all-time high because we are meant to be in relationship. And so at a glance, I'm like, okay, that's pretty complete if we're talking about taking care and feeling good and living a good life, right? But it's incomplete. And it's incomplete because, hear me, we are spiritual beings at our core. It is not a part of self-care. It is foundational. Say this with me. I am a spirit. I have a soul. I live in a body. Do you see now why it's incomplete? Because it starts, the foundation is spiritual at its core. And everything builds on that in my personal life and in my relational life. So if I'm going to truly be healthy, I can live healthy in this body and have a decent life and be successful, but I'm not whole until my spiritual foundation is rooted in Christ and I understand that at the core of who I am is spiritual. And so let me show you this chart. This is your spirit, your soul, and your body. At the core of who I am is spirit. I have a soul, I live in a body. So let's start from the bottom and work up here. My body interacts with the physical world, right? Through my senses. I have appetites, food, health. I have my touch, taste. This is where all of this stuff comes. This is the external you that people see and that engages with the things around you, right? So I can touch something, I can taste something, I can feel something. I can engage in the world around me with my physical body. Then there's the soul. And I don't have time to go into all of the theology. This will just give you a snapshot. This is kind of the internal you. I have a personality, right? Some of you are like, I wish you had a personality. And so I have a personality. I have the ability to reason. Try getting your dog to reason. Don't pee because then we have to clean it up. And then the dog's like, I don't care, right? They have no reasoning ability, but they have a body, right? So this is the ability to reason. I have a mind. I have a will. I have understanding. We're the only creature on the planet with this. All right? And then that's how I'm self-aware of who I am. And then there's the spirit or my God awareness. I'm trying to simplify this as best I can. This is how I interact with God on a deep level. Now, here's the problem. This is not interacting with God. Praise the Father. That's That's my body doing something, but unless my spirit is engaged, if I'm just going through the motions, right? This is why coming to church don't make you a Christian. You know? You know those people, don't you? You're like, yeah, I know them. This is why just doing spiritual things with your body doesn't make you spiritual. I mean, you are a spirit, but you engage with, I have to have an encounter with God that says, I am broken, not just on the outside. My soul, my spirit is broken, and I need an awakening. Because if the core of who we are is spiritual, that's where everything begins. Everything. Let me give you just a snapshot. You understand when you receive Christ into your life and you say, okay, I'm going to follow Jesus. I'm going to turn from my sin. I'm going to follow him. I want you to forgive me my sins, be Lord of my life. And day by day, I'm going to try to not sin, to not disobey, but I'm going to try to journey on this life journey to reach my full potential and live out your calling and honor you as Lord of my life. That's what we're talking about when we say salvation. Putting your trust and faith in Jesus Christ, life, death, burial, and resurrection. Do you know when you receive Christ into your life, the only thing that's saved is your spirit? You know, the Bible says when you die, you leave this body. That's why I don't do CrossFit, because I'm going to get a new body one day. I'm just saying. Your spirit is awakened. And so many people go, I want to follow Jesus, and my spirit is awakened, but my body's still broken because of my soul's still broken. I still have all this emotion and junk and pin up from my past because of my decisions or things that have happened to me, and I am shattered, but I thought God was going to save me, and he did save your soul, but you got to do the hard work of fixing the other stuff. That's why I'm so passionate about the good life. Because see, we come to know Christ, and it's like, why is this different? I mean, I want this emotional experience with God, but he ain't. But I need him to rebuild me, strengthen me. And so for us to be healthy, and to our marriage to be healthy, let's review what we discussed in last year's series. It was everybody's favorite illustration. It was what we know and came to be known as the love cake. If you don't remember, I'm not going to bring it out, but I'll show you a diagram on the screen. So what we say is there's 5 components to healthy relationships, and this is true of your own life as well. But it starts at the very foundation with your spiritual life. This is the bottom layer of the cake. If this gets out of order, everything else is dysfunctional. This is why we say, and we'll talk more about it in the series, you got to become the person you're looking for is looking for. Quit making a list and checking it twice, trying to find out what you want, what you desire, and start becoming. Some of us don't even qualify to check off the own boxes on our own list. I want this and I want that, but I'm not going to be that, right? I want to do my own thing, but then I want her to be or I want him to be. No, we gotta dig into our core of our being and say, God, we are, first of all, children of God in Christ. Help me to be solid in my faith before anything else. Then there's the social component, right? Because we're made for a relationship, we have friends. Hopefully, you have friends. Hopefully, you have good friends. It doesn't mean that we don't have people who don't believe the same way that are friends, but we have to be very cautious where we allow those friends to lead us. In other words, we have a close-knit social circle that have godly influences in our life. It doesn't mean we don't have other people that we have a relationship, but the closest circle around us. I love what Daniel Foster said on Wednesday night with our students. He said, just because they're riding with you don't mean they're riding for you. Who is that people that are riding for you? Who's in that? And out of that social circle, when you if my social circle is the club, hello, and you're saying, God, send me a woman. Here you go. There's plenty of them, right? So what is your social circle? What are their belief system? Have they worked on their spiritual foundation? Then you move to interpersonal. All of a sudden, somebody in my social circle like, hey, girl, what's up, you know? And we realize we have the same values, the same desires when it comes to serving God. And now we get to know each other and we're like, wow, I don't know. Like we have something. Oh, you got some junk. I got some junk. And we build a relationship of friendships, deep and authentic. Then we allow our emotions to get involved, don't we? That's what we should do, but that's not what we do. And so we're like, oh, no, I mean, even though you got some baggage and stuff, like, I kind of like you. And I don't know, man, I got feelings. And so we got these feelings. And then we enter a relationship. And we're like, you know what? I could see myself spending the rest of my life with you. Because you have the same spiritual foundation, same beliefs, same values. We know each other. We're building intimacy, aren't we? Then comes marriage. Then comes the physical. That's God's design. The problem is, we don't do it that way, do we? We get it backwards like, girl, you fine. Come here. Right? And so anything else is out of order. And it breaks down intimacy in your marriage. And so then, let me just kind of give you an illustration. Again, similar to last year, but I think we want to work from the same premise, and I think we're going to end with a powerful moment together. So what happens is, we decide, hey, we want to get married. I'm going to go to the cookbook of dating, the cookbook of relationships, and I like cake, so I'm looking for a cake. And so I'm going to flip through this cookbook, and I'm going to say, what can I find in here? What can I find? I don't like that. I don't like that. What am I looking for? Oh, what am I looking? I got this list, and I'm like, oh, yeah, there she is. It is creme de la coco torte. And you're like, it's so good, it's layers and layers, all these words. I don't know what the words mean. I can't read. I don't care about the words. I just want the cake. I don't care about the ingredients. Hello. It looks good. And it's going to feel good when I eat it. It's going to make me feel good. It's going to be an emotional moment. I don't care about all this. I don't care how you make it. I don't know. I just want this. And so we set out to find this, right? We're going, all right, let's go. We're going to find this right here. And so we go to the club or Tinder, whatever generation you're in here, okay? And we're out there and we lock eyes. Or we swipe left or right or whichever one it is. Whoa, there she is, right? And now it's, how you doing? I'm good, how you doing? Oh, what are we doing here? I don't know. We're just two eggs trying to make an omelet. Same joke. Works every time. Oh. What are you doing here? I'm just trying to pick up chicks. The second wave, the slower IQ people. And so you get to talking, and you're like, man, she's fine. And then he goes, he's like, man, I met this girl. She's so hot. I'm telling you, man, she's like, oh, God, he always makes me feel so good. He goes, I'm telling you, she's so cute. Let's check him out. It's fun. And then he's like, oh, I'm just telling him, every time I'm with her, man, I just feel like, oh, my God, I think he's the one. Before you know it, 2 weeks into the relationship, you find yourself, you don't know how you got there, just back at her apartment mixing it up. Don't even know each other's middle name. Are we too real in it? But we mixing it up, and you're like, man. And he's like, man, every time I'm with her, man, she makes me feel so good. She made me feel so good. And she's like, oh my gosh, he's amazing. You just never know. Like, and he's got to be the one. And so we're just mixing it up. And it's fun for a while, because sin is pleasurable for a season. But psychologists and sociologists tell us about 12 to 18 months in, it ain't as fun as it used to be. And I realized, like, I don't even really know you. And so now I've got my emotions and my physical life tied up, but I haven't even gotten to really know you because I ain't had my clothes on with you in 6 months. And now you start talking. And you realize he ain't so smart. And he posts things on his Instagram, and he don't know the difference. He don't speak in complete sentences. He don't use punctuation, and he don't know the difference between there and there. And he starts to get on your nerves. The problem is you got a soul tie. You're like, I mean, I like the way you look, and I like the way you make me feel. I don't really like you. And then you realize they brought a bunch of other baggage in, right? And now you're like, oh. And you go, I don't know if this is going to work. So you say, okay, God, will you bless this? Will you fix this? And you try to put the spiritual cover, and God goes, no, you already took it under the covers. And it can't be covered by God because you've been covering it by something else. And so we decide, well, this ain't going to work. So we go our separate ways. And now, I got a little bit of your brokenness in me, and you got a little bit of my brokenness in you. And now you're lonelier than you were before, and you're more insecure than you were before. Next man up. This is life, isn't it? This is our culture. Because we got the cart before the horse. And we developed a soul tie that's wounded us more than we ever realized it would. This is the revelation, people. Restraint without revelation leads to rebellion. Restraint leads to rebellion, and now you're going, dang it. I ain't going to tell you, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. What I'm going to tell you is, there's a better plan for your life. You can live in wholeness. We'll talk about what happens when somebody does something to you next week. That'll be a very deep conversation. But now this is you. And now we come full circle. And we're like, all right, well, we don't really get whole. We don't really work on ourselves. And we go enter into marriage with somebody else who's broken, right? Or we go enter into marriage hoping somebody else can fix us. For some of you, this is your marriage. And you've had sex, but you haven't experienced intimacy. God, this ain't what I thought. You said marriage was a good thing. He said, yeah, done my way. Because what you did was you tried to create this with this. And when you bit into it, it was a little crunchy. It hurt a little bit. Because you ain't supposed to eat the shell, right? And now this is your life. This is your marriage. Single people, listen to me. Some of you are like, oh my gosh, I'm heading down the wrong road. Others of you talk to people who've been married 20 years, like, we're just hanging on for dear life. Just hanging on, man, just hanging on. I tell people all the time, I don't want you to stay married. I want you to thrive in your marriage. I mean, we've been married 50 years. We don't talk. We sleep in different beds, and I don't even like her. We've been married 50 years. That is the biggest robbery of what God intended for your marriage to be. I told y'all, I'm going to be gumming my wife when I'm 85 on the front porch swing. Baby girl, come here. I don't care. You're my standard of beauty. That's the way God intended it to be. But now we're in marriage, and it's interesting because this ain't even a Christian, what I'm about to tell you. It's from healthline.com, the leading health line online. We pride ourselves in making the most accurate, that's what they say. Okay, anyway. They tell us, though, there's 7 components of intimacy. This is us. And now we're trying to build intimacy, and here are the 7 components. With trust. All the other relationships broke me. How am I supposed to trust you? Acceptance. I got to accept you and all your baggage. Right? Honesty. I'm not sure I can be honest with you about everything, because if I'm honest with you about everything, you might not accept me. And I'm not sure I can trust you. Safety. Well, if every relationship is broken me, how am I ever going to feel safe with you? Put up walls. And compassion. Do you know how hard it is to be compassionate for someone when you ain't even fixed your own issues? This is why we fight for what we want versus for the other person. Right? Affection. And now you're like, hey, baby, come on. It's just like, I don't feel like it. Because there's just, and I'm not saying, listen, I'm not saying, that's for another story, another day. I'm just saying the joy is gone. And here's the 7th one. We'll talk about this too. Communication. I don't even know how to talk to you no more. Right? Because we went about it all the wrong way. I'm going to give you this last statement, and then I'm going to close with an illustration. Hear me. Sex is not designed to achieve intimacy. It is designed as a reward for married people who already experience intimacy. And here's the thing. I think Paul tells you, come together as often as you can. But don't expect that to be the end all. You better build your intimacy. So here's what happens. We say, all right, God, this is what we want our marriage to look like. God, give me a good marriage. I want a good marriage. She got to be cute. He got to be strong. I want this. This is what I want. I want the creme de la coco torte. I want that. That's what I want. I don't care about all this. I just want that. And this is where we started. How it started, how it's going. And now we're right in the middle going, we want that, but we don't look like that anymore. This is why this is a very real emotional time for some of you. Hear me, watching online. This is meant to give you hope today. These next few moments are meant to give you hope and inspire you toward a greater future. You have two choices. You're stuck in the middle. You're wanting that. And some of you are married, and here's how you done been like, we tried. It's crunchy. It is jacked up with a capital J. Hear me. You can't fix this till you fix this. Well, he won't do this and she's crazy. You do you. Because when you stand before God, you ain't going to get to hold his hand or her hand and be like, God. No. You stand before God on your own. And so you're stuck in the middle, right here. I'm so glad that God is still there in the middle. In the middle of your brokenness, in the middle of your dysfunction, in the middle of the fact that you can't seem to get it right, God says, I'll never leave you and I'll never forsake you, and nothing you've ever done will separate you from my love. And you might not look like that, but I am so grateful for a God who specializes in putting broken pieces back together. And so right now, in this moment, in this middle, you have to decide. I am not asking you to have this major spiritual experience right now where it feels good in your body and in your emotions, but you don't ever go, I am asking God to awaken you, but then I'm asking you to do hard things. This is why I'm such an advocate of the good life. It is changing people from the inside out. It's radically changing people's lives. Because you realize God is good, we are stupid, God is still good. That's really it. You still need to go through it. Because that wasn't it all. But we're in the middle. And today, we can't go back to the beginning. We don't know what tomorrow brings. But right here, in this moment, God, I bring you my brokenness and say, God, will you help me start the journey? Will you give me the courage to get counseling and help and take next steps on the good life and say, okay, God, one foot in front of the other until not all the king's horses and not all the king's men try to put Humpty together again, but God begins to restore you from the inside out. He gives you confidence and security and he lets you understand that you are a child of the king. But it's up to you to do hard things. And so we're going to sing a song. But this song is just to inspire and encourage you that God is still good and that he's right there with you. And to give you a little hope. But if you're watching online, hear me. myrelevant.cc, there's a counseling link there. The Good Life, we're going to start another session sometime in March. But listen to me. It's up to you to take the next step. So let this moment be a moment where God begins to awaken something in your spirit. And you say, okay, now God, with your help, I'm going to do the hard things to get whole. Would you stand with me and let's just close our eyes for a moment of reflection? Nobody looking around, just for this moment of introspection. And This is a very difficult thing for so many people. So if you would, just close your eyes and bow your heads for just this moment, because I think so many times I never hear people say, when they come in for counseling, when they tell me, it's like, Pastor Carl, I'm just so embarrassed because when I was in college, man, I got 4 speeding tickets and I did this and I did it. No. You know what people come in? They come in with their brokenness and their shame from sexual sin. Either theirs or something somebody did to them. And so right now, this is a very private moment. A lot of people feel shame and guilt. And I want to give them just a moment between them and God. And I'm going to ask you, if that's you, with nobody looking around, would you simply say, Carl, I got a lot of broken pieces. Would you lift your hands all across this room? I know, listen, it's a moment. If you're not willing to lift your hands right now, just me and you, right now, then you're not going to take the next hard steps. Come on, lift them up all across this room. Let God, just say, God, this is me, raising my hand, saying, I'm ready to do hard things. I'm ready to deal with some stuff. Yeah. Right there at home, let us know. Send us a message. I'm going to pray for you. God, right now in this moment, I pray for people who have their hands raised, who are entering into this moment to say, God, I need you to help me put pieces back together. I pray they would realize in this very instance, right here, right now, as we sing this song, that you never leave, you never forsake. You're right here in the middle, helping us, creating us into what you want us to be if we'll take the necessary steps to find wholeness and healing. Give us courage today. Maybe right now you're here today and you're not a follower of Jesus. You can put your hands down. Nobody's looking around. But you would say, I need to make Jesus the center of my life. I want to give him my old life. I want to die to myself, ask him to forgive me my sins, and I want to follow him from this day forward. And I want him to be Lord of my life with nobody looking around. Again, you say, I want to do that. Would you simply lift up your hands on the count of 3 all across this room? I want to pray for you right where you're at. Come on, 1, 2, 3. Let us know online. I see hands. Oh, wow, hands going up all over the place. Wow. Unbelievable. If you got your hand up, just whisper these words to God. Dear God, I come to you right now. I believe you sent Jesus to die for my sins. He was put in a tomb and he was resurrected on the 3rd day so that I could have new life and spend eternity with you. I ask you to forgive me my sins. I ask that you be Lord of my life and you help me to live for you from this day forward. Thank you for saving me. Today I call you my Savior and I call you my Lord in Jesus' name. And everybody said, amen. Church, put your hands together. About 20 hands just went up in this room and even online right where you're at. Listen to me. Today's the beginning of a journey. If you raise your hand for anything, stop by the prayer and care room. When we get done with this song, I'll come back and give you some instructions. But I want you in this moment, the next 4 minutes, we're going to sing this song. Let this be an encouragement that God has a plan and a purpose no matter how you find yourself in this season of life. Come on, sing it with us.